siblings. In this video, I'm going to do a bit more of talking about my own personal history. The last biography video I did went over pretty well, and people asked other questions and that sort of thing, so I guess I'll keep making them as long as people keep liking them, right? That's easy enough. Also on this one, oops, let's see how loud or quiet that will be. Hopefully it will be okay. Okay, so I'm also had brought a brush, which I think at some point, I don't know, I'm thinking I'm going to have brush be in the title, like a brush with history, I think is what I'm going to end up calling it. So I'm going to figure out something clever to do with a brush. Anyway, if I get like, I don't know what I'm thinking, that can't think of anything to say, I can just, do a certain amount of just, brushing. Okay, I don't know what the hell's going on. Yippee-yi-yi. And I'll do a little bit of brushing over here just for, these are not at all level, but that's okay. This isn't. This isn't really binaural, is it? You know what I mean? It's just sort of haphazardly. Me playing with the two microphones, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, so this video is going to be me talking about myself and doing some of that kind of thing. But before I get full on into just talking about my personal history, let me do the responsible thing as a professional YouTuber. And since I have the brush, it makes me think of doing triggers in front of the camera. Every Saturday night, 8 p.m. California time, I do a live stream from 8 p.m. till 10:20 p.m. And yeah, I mean, that's it. We do, when we chat and people ask me questions and that sort of thing. I play some games, like the Sokoban or, Octortle or something like that. And then I also do triggers like, painting on the microphones and the like, so that kind of thing. So anyway, you can come have fun with us there. Also, please do the like and subscribe and comment and share and comment on other people's comments and all that good stuff. I also have links in the description for social media, and there's a Patreon link. Patreon's just $1 a month. There's no bonus anything. It just serves as a tip jar. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess that's all the links and live stream and to do the things, and like the video and subscribe. Okay. I think, I probably didn't say to do the notification bell, right? Anyway, I think I remembered everything at this point. So, now, what was it? I went to, I just went and double checked this today. It was high school. I finished out of high school, and I had mentioned that I had taken a certain amount of German at community college. Yeah, after I got out of high school, my first semester, I was actually kind of excited about going to college, to be honest. It was like, ooh, I don't know, a new thing. I don't know, it seemed like, going to school as an adult, even though I wasn't really an adult yet, but, it seemed like, hey, I'm a big kid now, but I wasn't at all sure what I was going to do with myself, right? So that was, I figured the best place to spend time, while I was kind of trying to sort that kind of thing out would be at community college, because at least I was getting educated, right? And I could, do whatever. And yeah, my parents were also fairly generous about, helping me out with money and things like that, as long as I was going to school, But, but yeah, so it's a good reason to stay in school. Then somewhere along the line, I became more and more committed to the idea that I was going to be a musician. And I kept going to school just because I wanted, I don't know, I just felt having some kind of an education was important, just being a decent human. But I was also just struggling with what to do for a day job, because I made the bad choice of staying in San Diego. And I guess, well, right out of high school, I went to community college in San Diego, and then I went back up here to the Bay Area for one semester, and then I went back down to San Diego again. So anyway, but after I was down in San Diego the second time at community college, I kind of just stayed there until after my divorce, and it was kind of not this. If you're going to be a musician, that wasn't the smart thing to have done, right? I should have moved to LA or New York or someplace like that where there was actually a music industry happening. So I decided to stay in San Diego, and well, whatever, a whole string of a lot of bad choices. But so I did go to school still, but it was I guess I decided to do I got a degree in it's an associate arts degree in general education. So yippee-yi-yay. I mean, it was having the degree isn't so important as much as having the education. It's because just a general sort of, you get exposed to a bunch of stuff. I don't know. But then, yeah, I'm trying to think of how much, how much more detail is there to talk about it with college. I mean, I guess there's a fair amount of, depending on how you want to go about it, because I ended up. Well, I guess let me do a little side trip into jobs for a minute. Because I don't want to talk about all my jobs, but I worked at a Circle K for a while. It was a lousy shift. I did graveyard. I didn't mind the graveyard part of it, to be honest, but it was a lousy part of town. It was it was a crappy job. I worked with a buddy of mine who was a construction guy for a pretty short period of time. Yeah, I had a couple of driving jobs. And at I guess at some point, because I decided to be engaged to the person who was essentially my first serious girlfriend. So it was like, well, I guess first love, right? That thing. So we became engaged and like that. And so I decided to that I should do something about getting an actual job, that was more serious about paying bills rather than spending off my parents all the time and that kind of thing. So I went to do a training program it's through the education system here in California that I think they have it a lot of other places too, but it's the Regional Occupational Program, so ROP. And the idea is that you could get vocational training, for whatever would be, good for, that area. And so the thing I chose to get training in was electronics. I already had a lot of experience with programming computers, but I didn't really want to do software. I don't know why it bothered me that, I think the thing is because I didn't really have any real credentials. I only knew how to do it from being a hobbyist because my dad was a computer programmer, so I grew up with computers, But, so yeah, it probably would have been hard to get a job with, no real credentials. And anyway, so I decided to do the hardware thing instead. And so I did that for a while until I was, it could be an electronics technician level 2 or something like that, I think is what it was. I think, yeah, level 2. Anyway, so then I went and got a job working at this place that ended up going out of business, and so I didn't. So I lost that job, and then I ended up at the place that was called Quidel. That was the place where I worked, where they did diagnostic test strips. So at some point, well, not at some point. I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna go into all the details. So after a while,
And while I was still married, we decided that we should both finish our education, and a little bit more emphasis was put on her getting hers done because she was older than me, but she was also closer to being finished. And I wasn't really sure what I was going to really do at the time, so it was like, I don't know, so it made sense that she should go back. And I mean, I did go back, but she went to San Diego State University, and I still kind of farted around at the community college. I didn't have a major or anything, and she was doing an English major. Anyway, so we were doing that, but then at the same time trying to, keep jobs and, pay bills and all that kind of thing. And I was also playing in bands all of this while. So while I was going back to school and trying to play in bands and whatnot for a big part of that time, I also worked for the school district at a couple of different levels. One level was for the community college at the tutoring center. I tutored math and logic. And for the high school district, I worked at the adult school on one high school campus, and I can't even think of the name of the campus. And then on another high school campus at night, I worked for a different adult school, but it was for to do with the amnesty program that President Reagan had put through. So there was a whole bunch of funding that got put forward for citizenship education programs and English as second language programs, and they were super, super popular. So my whole job was as an instructional aide was I just dealt with all the extra paperwork that was there because of the new federal program. Everything had to be documented, and their progress and whether they stayed enrolled. And I don't think there was any punishment to them as students or anything like that. I think it was just a matter of statistics. Because it's a federal program, right? They want to know all the statistics, right? Anyway, so there's a bunch of paperwork got generated for that. And my whole job was just to deal with that. So I ended up, it was 3 different jobs, but and they overlapped to varying degrees. I guess more than once I had all 3 of them at the same time. Here, just brush on the microphone while I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I mean, anyway, so I was going to school, working at the school. Oh, I guess the other thing I was going to say is even though it was like 3 different jobs, I just got one monthly paycheck from the state, because that's how you get paid. Actually, I think it might have, maybe it was a state thing, but it was issued by the county or something. I don't know, but it was once a month. So what else is there to talk about? That's, this is all stuff that's... Oh, I guess I could back up, because before I got married, so I got married in 1986. So before then, my wife and I went to the United Kingdom. Actually, I should say I went with her. Her and a couple of her friends from high school, they had this, they'd been part of this pen pal thing, and they were writing to these guys in the UK. And so they had planned this trip that they were going to come and meet these people that they were pen pals with. It was 2 guys and a girl, and I guess 3 guys and a girl that they were all pen pals with. And anyway, they had decided that they were going to put this trip together, and a bunch of them were going to go, and they were going to stay for a whole summer kind of thing. And anyway, the whole trip kind of grew. Anyway, and I got I went with them, and anyway, yeah. So it was me, my then girlfriend, now ex-wife, I guess 2 other of her friends, and then this other girl who I didn't know before. I guess she was friends with one of the other girls, and like me, she's kind of an extra person that just got added. So I think it was initially only going to be 3 of them. Anyway, so we rented a house. I think I've told this before somewhere. In a place called Hebden Bridge. This is back in '85, if I didn't say that already. And it was kind of it was an odd little place. Apparently there was a bit of an art scene going on there that we didn't know anything about. But, so to us it just seemed like this kind of idyllic, English village, not nestled in these hills, Anyway, so we stayed there for the month of July, and then we got a place outside. It was in this place called East Sheen, which was just a little bit west of Hammersmith. So it was down, in the London area, right? And so we, that was for the month of August of '85. So. Oops, I just kicked the camera. The tripod anyway. Don't kick things, man. I'm trying to think what else has been going on during this. Late teens into 20s. I don't know, is there any tales that I want to bother talking about from any of the band days? Not right now. Maybe I'll make it something I'll talk about that at some point. But so yeah, bands, school. That was pretty much pretty much that was it. Huh. So I guess after working for the schools, that's when I ended up meeting through some friends. So I had a bunch of friends that were, they all went to UC San Diego, so it was the kind of the upper echelon school, like, there's community college, then there's state college, and then there's UC college. Anyway, so I had some friends that were going to UC San Diego, and they had met this artist guy, I could think through like a bulletin board at the school, and they were working for him, and I didn't quite understand what they were doing with for him or anything like that. Anyway, they said, "Hey, dude, you should come. He needs someone else, and he'd be perfect for this." And so I went and interviewed, and it was a weird thing. It was a good fit for at the time. And it was this guy named Max Springer, and he had this whole setup. It was in kind of the border of Pacific Beach, La Jolla kind of area, and anyway, so he had this wood shop, and he lived in this really cool house, and they had a garage that they converted into a wood shop, and then they had this sort of basement area. There was this huge storage room that was like multi-level down into a basement, and that got converted into this guy Max's actual studio. And so we built things out of wood that he painted on. So he would design things to be built, and then we would build them, and then he would paint on them. I mean, that's kind of the shortest, easiest way of explaining it. Another thing I did for him, because he was a pretty prolific guy, and so there's tons of work, and of course it was all like cataloged and insured. So I got I inherited from this other guy. I mean, he didn't leave the company. He just didn't want it, because Max and this guy had created this company sort of around Max. It was this odd situation, but well, whatever. Anyway, he just didn't want to do the cataloging thing anymore, so we decided to deal with keeping these. I didn't actually have to take any photos or anything. I just had to, make sure that everything corresponded and that the records matched, that, that the descriptions matched what the insurance company had, and, it was just basically, bookkeeping more than anything. But I didn't have to do that once in a while, but when it happened, it was annoying. But somebody had to do it. Anyway, that's the guy that the 2 times I went to the Netherlands, it was to sort of hang out with him. I feel like I've been talking for a while, but I'm never a good judge at that. So how long have I actually been talking for? Doesn't seem like that long at all. No, not very long at all. So what do I know? A lot of things I miss about San Diego. Like things that pop to my mind immediately are, actually the kind of the superficial things that people like about San Diego, or what draws them there as tourists, is, the weather and just the geography of the place. It's just physically a really nice place to be. And I've mentioned in other videos, I think I just mentioned it recently in one of the mind test Mondays. When I was in San Diego, not so much when I lived in San Francisco, oddly enough, because it's also a coastal town. But when I lived in San Diego, I really liked going to the beach, and I didn't. A lot of times, not even to go be in the sand, let alone be in the water. Mostly just to kind of just go walk around and be, at the beach. But of course, sometimes you go when you get on the sand, and sometimes you get in the water, and all of it's pretty good, to be honest. And also, Balboa Park in San Diego is pretty nice. We used to spend a lot of weekend afternoons there. We'd take stuff like croquet and I'm trying to think what other games that we play. Oh, these girls, these sisters that we knew, I think they called it bocce ball. It kind of makes me think of shuffleboard, but you're rolling balls around and trying to collide over it. I don't remember all the rules to it, but it's like a weird form of that lawn bowling kind of thing. Oh, and of course, volleyball was another popular one to take to the beach and the park, both actually. one thing that was really cool that they did at Balboa Park, for a while anyway, they did these Sunday evening, during the summer months, Sunday evening concerts, because at the organ pavilion, because they had an actual pipe organ at their organ pavilion that was actually a functioning, working pipe organ, and they had an organist and the whole thing, and they would do, I think sometimes they would even have guest organists and stuff. And a dude that I knew, who I've talked about before, his name was also Bill. He worked at the place that was the organ company whose job it was to maintain the organ for the city. And so we actually kind of got to go inside for a quick second to just kind of go, ooh, look at that, we're inside an organ. Thinking there's got to be more of that stuff that happened to me in my 20s that we're talking about, but nothing's really coming to mind. But it's like one of those things that later on this afternoon I'll be doing something else, and things pop. Well, why didn't you talk about that? Or why didn't you talk? Man, whatever. I guess I'll just save them for a future video. I can always, go over ground again. Well, I guess that will more or less take me to the point in time when my wife and I decided to get a divorce. Actually, it's more like she said she wanted a divorce, and so anyway, we got divorced. It took me a long time to realize it, but she was right. We we shouldn't have been married. But at the time, I did not take it well at all. But after the divorce, or actually before the divorce, we were just separated. But she was, starting the paperwork and all that. Anyway, I decided to move back up here to the Bay Area, and that's when I decided to go back to school a little bit more seriously. Oh, I guess that's one thing I guess I could talk about. While I was working at the tutoring center at the community college, I was sort of, I don't want to say talked into, but I was encouraged that I should become a math major. And anyway, so that's I guess I decided that there's, I guess, stories I could tell about that, but I'll wait. I don't know, maybe I'll tell those or maybe I won't. So when I came back up here, it was with the intent that I would go to San Francisco State and get a bachelor's in mathematics, and then I decided that I would actually do a master's with the intent of so that I could teach at community college level. And there's a whole lot of things that went on while that was happening, but as far as my educational career, just to give you the Reader's Digest version of that now, is that I came to realize that I didn't have the temperament to be a teacher. And it was just, it's just like, no, I don't want to. Yeah, I'm just not the right guy for that kind of job, and I would be doing it students a disservice, So I thought, all right, I got to figure something else out to do. And yeah, anyway, so I did finish. I did all the coursework to my bachelor's. However, I screwed up, and I hadn't done a thing called the library requirement, which was this thing that they make you do so that you could prove that you know how to use a library. But it's essentially, it's one of those things that they make you do. It's a box you have to tick on your application, or not your application for graduation. But also, there's a fee attached to it, so you have to, I'm pretty sure it's a revenue generator for the school, to be honest. Anyway, I screwed up and didn't do that thing, and so my application for graduation was denied. And so all I really had to do was go do the library thing, pay the fee, do the thing, and then go back and refill out all the forms and submit them. And I eventually did do the thing and fill out the forms for the library thing, but I never filled out the application to actually, graduate. So I suppose I could, now I just go through a bunch of bureaucracy so I could have a piece of paper, but I don't see the point of it at this point. And I don't know that there was any real value that I've missed that, having. I suppose my having the skill set involved with, doing higher math is, indicative of the idea that I'd be able to do computer programming or something, right? So, it might be relevant in that way. But nobody ever asked me, Nobody, they didn't, most people didn't even ask if I was a college graduate. What they wanted to know is, what languages did I know and how long had I been using them? That was it. I'm drawing a blank on what to continue with, so I think I'll just sort of, I don't know, maybe I'll try to think of something else here, but I may just sign off here in a few minutes, just do a little bit of brushing just for something to be happening for the last little bit of time on the way out. But yeah, I just sort of ran out of steam and what to talk about from my past.